Hi everyone, apologies for the delay on today's cooking demo. I had worked out the camera and live function on my laptop, but when it came to game day, it did not want to work. So we're using my phone at the moment. My name's Lauren and I'm an accredited practicing dietitian, nutritionist and sports dietitian, and I'm here today to run you through a really quick low FODMAP stir fry for you to be making at any time. It serves two. The recipe has also already been posted, but I just thought I'd go through and show you how it's all done. The biggest thing that we find with low FODMAP meals is it can be really hard to figure out what to eat, and it's really can be quite difficult sometimes to be eating enough vegetables when you are reducing certain vegetables through the low FODMAP diet. So I'm going to get started, but as we talk through, I'm going to also talk about the low FODMAP diet itself, and if any questions at all pop up, please just send them through and I'll answer them as we go. So we're starting off, I've pre-cooked quite a few things just to make sure that this was really quick, but I'll run it through. We're going to be starting on a pan that is about a medium heat. What I've done to start with, just to prep us for today, is I have pre-steamed some broccoli and carrots, so they're done. What I've also done is pre-chopped some bok choy. I've got 1.5 cups of bok choy there, and I have half a red capsicum that's all diced up, ready to go as well. What you'll need is firm tofu. Do not be getting any of that it's like silken tofu, those styles, because you will be a little bit shocked on the consistency. It's not what you're looking for. Number one trick with tofu is that you want to actually use a good old towel that's clean, okay? Or you can be using paper towel as well. And I want you to press out all the liquid in it. By pressing out all the liquid in it, we actually make a drier, crispier tofu that's a lot more tasty than if you don't press it out. So put a bit of pressure in it. You might notice that it starts to crack on the sides. That's absolutely fine. I just give it a good press until I notice that the towel's actually a little bit damp, which means that it's all come through. So that's 200 grams of tofu there. So the pan's heating up, all right, so we're going to put a little bit, I've got 2 olive oils here. I've got your garlic infused Cobram Estate olive oil. This is your go-to if you are doing a low FODMAP diet and love onion and garlic, because they're the first things that have to go, just for your elimination phase, obviously. So it's a great way to still get the flavour of garlics in there without actually putting the FODMAPs in there, because FODMAPs are water soluble, which means once you pop them in oil, you actually don't get any of the FODMAPs in there once you put them in there and remove it. So I'm just actually using the normal olive oil today, because I've actually put the garlic infused olive oil in the sauce. So we're just going to wait for that to heat up. While we're waiting for the oil to heat up, you're going to dice up your tofu that's actually had all of the water squeezed out of it. Give that a nice dice. Lovely. Good. With your sauce, that should already be pre-made. I've put mine in a jar, an old peanut butter jar. You put all your sauce ingredients in a jar and you give it a really good shake. The reason why an old peanut butter jar is even better, because it's already got some peanut butter all around it. Shake that up really nice and well, and you've got 2 choices. You can put this sauce on your stir fry as you go, or you can also be adding some of it to the tofu to be adding a little bit of flavour. So that's what I like to do. I like to put a couple of tablespoons with the tofu. Alright, so the oil's nice and hot now. You're going to put, you've got 3 spring onions here that you've only chopped up the green bit, okay, because that white bit is where all the FODMAPs are at the moment. So you want to be using the green bits. I'm only using half of them, okay? So half of them in, and the rest are going to be for your, just on top afterwards. And do I have a spatula? Yeah. Lovely. So you don't have to be without flavour to be on a low FODMAP diet. Lots of people get really concerned about cutting out onion and garlic. You can still be having the green bits of spring onion. And as I was mentioning before, the garlic infused olive oils are going to be a really good lifesaver through this time.
Hey.
So you just give that a little bit of a stir fry. We're going to add the tofu straight in, because I always find that it's very easy to undercook tofu, but it's not so hard to overcook it. So add your 200 grams of tofu into the pan. Now, if you want to do it how I do it, which is adding a couple of tablespoons of the sauce to the tofu for some extra flavour. So, I don't have a tablespoon out at the moment. I'm just going to add a tablespoon of this sauce in, just because tofu is a little bit of a blank canvas. I'll just 1 second, check something. Lovely. Sorry for the little interruption there. I don't know if there's some technical difficulties going on at the moment, but I'm just going to continue. We'll see what happens. So my tofu is still going on at the moment. It's getting nice and browned on each side. Usually your tofu might need... The thing with tofu is that it doesn't actually need to be cooked for a food safety perspective, but it does need to be cooked well for a bit of taste. So we will just continue cooking that through. I'll just check one. Lovely. Okay. So just back to the top, I'll just explain the things that have happened so far. We put the spring onions on to cook through with the oil to start with. I've pressed out all of the moisture out of the tofu and then diced it up and popped it in with the oil as well. We have pre-steamed. The reason we have pre-steamed the broccoli and the carrot is because it can take a really long time for this to stir fry well. Okay, so I pop it in the microwave covered just for 2.5 minutes, just so it can get a really slight cook through, and it can be ready to go rather than having to wait for it to cook in the stir fry, because stir fries really are 15-minute meals, but if you're waiting for some things to cook, they can take up to half an hour. So I think that this tofu is as cooked as I would like it. So, you know, browned on most of the edges, it will continue to cook. So what we're going to do is pop all the vegetables in, okay? So as I said, I've got 1.5 cups of diced bok choy. I've got half a red capsicum diced up, and then all of my steamed veggies. And they just go straight in. So as I was saying before, it can be really hard for people doing the low FODMAP diet to be eating enough vegetables because they feel really limited, because a lot of them do contain some high FODMAP groups. All of these veggies that I've picked at the moment are low FODMAP. You can be having them in the elimination stage, and it's really important that you do eat enough vegetables in the elimination stage, because when we are doing a low FODMAP diet, a lot of the time it's because we do have gastrointestinal issues, and if we cut out all the fibre from these vegetables, then you might continue with these gastrointestinal issues as well. So fibre needs to stay high, and we need to stay low FODMAP with the veggies. Remember that low FODMAP diets are only meant to be continued, you know, for 6 weeks, sort of as a maximum is usually what I do with my clients, and then we start to reintroduce vegetables and, you know, the FODMAP groups, because low FODMAP diets are not meant to be continued in the elimination stage, you know, so strict low FODMAP, they're not meant to be continued long term, okay? So these veggies are still cooking in here. I don't know, it all depends on how you like to eat your vegetables, but I don't like mine overcooked and mushy. I've had some rice noodles cooking in this for a few minutes, so I'm going to drain these. With rice noodles are low FODMAP because rice is low FODMAP. You don't need to be looking for any fancy ones. Sometimes they like to label gluten-free rice noodles. Rice noodles are naturally gluten-free unless they're adding additional things into them, so you don't need to be worried too much about looking for those, you know, gluten-free labels. And also gluten isn't a FODMAP, so just be focused on rice noodles is great. I've got 80 grams there that I have pre-cooked in the boiling water there. Okay. So my veggies are coming along really nicely now. I have the rest of my sauce here, so I'm actually going to shake that up just a little bit more with a little bit left, because I can still see lots of peanut butter around the edges there. So the sauce has got in it, it's got a tablespoon of peanut butter, a tablespoon of soy sauce, a tablespoon of maple syrup, a teaspoon of minced ginger, and I think it was a teaspoon of garlic, extra virgin olive oil as well. So it's really flavoursome. And that's, I do believe that the sauce is where you sort of make and break a stir fry. So I can still see a lot of sauce in there, so I'm going to put a bit of water in just so that we can make sure that we can get every last bit of flavour. Lovely. Great. So now it's really starting to cook through. The little bit of water, it's going to evaporate anyway, so not a big deal if you're going to add some water to your sauce, because this pan here is on a bit of a high heat. It's going to evaporate. Lovely. So you can cook this bit for as long as you want. I'm going to cook it until that bit of water seems to evaporate from it. Lovely. We're going to add the noodles. Actually looks like quite a bit of noodles today. Woo, okay. Lovely. Okay. Lovely. So this is a very veggie dense meal, which is great. Some feedback you can get from starting the low FODMAP diet is feeling hungry all the time, and that's because lots of fibre can be reduced from your diet. So it's important to be eating enough fibre, which does come from your vegetables, and also to be eating enough protein as well. So that's why we've got a good chunk of tofu here. So when you see this, you'll see that it's actually a really large serving of food, especially for 2 people. But I'm a big believer in volume eating, so you can still eat a lot of food and be really nice and healthy, because I do tend to eat a lot of vegetables. So it's fine if you want to be eating lots of food and lots of good nourishing vegetables. Alright, so I've mixed that all really well through, so the noodles actually are covered with the sauce now. So that's actually done. It has been, what, 15 minutes, I think? So actually more like 12 if we take into account my my issues with the connectivity. So I'll actually show you how this looks, because I'm pretty happy with it. So put this into a bowl here. Now I have lunch ready for myself, which is great for me. Some great toppings to add to this little low FODMAP. A sprinkle of your spring onion bits, and I love adding sesame seeds, okay, so really great Asian spin, and they are low FODMAP too. So I will show you this. So here we go, low FODMAP Asian stir fry, full of all your healthy vegetables and lots of low FODMAP vegetables too. It's not gluten-free because of the soy sauce, but if you do choose to make this gluten-free, then you can use tamari instead. And it's only tofu because I wanted to make a vegetarian dish, but if you choose to make it with chicken or beef or lamb or something like that, that's going to be low FODMAP as well, because all of these proteins actually don't contain any FODMAPs. But yeah, thank you so much for coming today. I hope that maybe you'll make it sometime, because you can make it in your lunch break, as I have right now. Thanks so much for your time, guys. Bye.